When I first entered his home, I felt like I entered into a museum, but much better. You could tell that someone's been doing a lot of traveling. But how much exactly? Uzi is a proud Jewish Canadian whose parents escaped the Holocaust, settling in different countries including Canada, Israel, America, Sweden, and the list goes on. He has been a full-time traveler since 15 years old. He is also a professional photojournalist who has traveled to many war zones and now to areas that are much more peaceful. Uzi has agreed to let me interview him and ask him a few questions about his life. So how is it living in London?
Very expensive.
Yeah.
But you have everything here.
But you chose to live in London for a reason, right? Out of all the countries you've been traveling to, you decided London.
Well, if you're a photojournalist, you have to be a few hours, not far from where you're going. So if you're in London, you can just take a plane in 1 hour to somewhere, so it's good.
And you mentioned that London is a great hub for flights.
Yeah.
Not only flights, but cheap flights to just anywhere in the world.
Yeah, most of it, unless you go to very far away places.
Which makes
but
it...
even then, if you compare to other countries, it's cheaper to fly from here.
And not only does it help with your job, but also with your personal pleasure flights,
Yeah,
let's say.
yeah.
If you want to travel to, let's say, Bosnia tomorrow, just because you felt like it.
Yeah, I have 2 airports near here.
And there's 5 in total. 5 airports in total.
Let me see. 6.
6 airports in London. There you go.
Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, Luton, City, Airport, and...
I mean, you've been doing a lot of traveling. How many countries have you been to?
Maybe 187.
187? Because the list I saw, I started reading and the list just kept going.
The Americans. I've been all of them except Paraguay.
Africa? Was that more for pleasure or for work?
Both.
Both, okay. Interesting. So roughly you would say at least 180 countries you've been to.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something to be proud of, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I still want to travel more.
And you still want to travel. Out of those countries, have you had any favorites that come to mind right away?
It's difficult.
Nothing that pops up.
Europe, probably Spain.
Spain.
Yeah, I go there 5 or 6 times a year.
Particular reasons?
Well, I speak the language, I like the food, nice weather, many landscape, friendly people, cheaper than London, fly very cheap.
To Spain.
Yeah.
You can fly really cheap. What is the best part about traveling? What is it that makes you get up, get on a plane, sit down and fly, or buy that ticket again?
You meet interesting people, different cultures, you learn different languages, try new food.
Now, how do you not get bored of traveling?
I don't get bored, no. You always see something new. Even if you go back to the same place.
You don't see yourself ever getting bored in the future?
Not yet.
How long have you been saying that to yourself?
Sometimes I say I should just stop traveling and live in a little village somewhere.
And do you ever try to do that?
No, I say that, but then I changed my mind. Eventually.
What are the scariest or the most scariest moments you've had during travels that you're willing to share with us?
I was kidnapped in Somalia.
You said you were kidnapped in Somalia?
Yeah, for 8 days.
For 8 days? Wow.
But not only me. Me and the other 10 people. Okay. We were just walking on the street. A van stopped and pushed us inside the van. And I also didn't know the way because they put something on our eyes. Blindfolded. Yeah.
What was going through your head during the time you were kidnapped?
Well, I tried to convince them that we were not the people that they thought we were.
Or were you thinking about what's going to happen to me? Maybe now they're going to let me go after I told them this, after I told them that.
Well, after 2-3 days, I thought they would not do anything because if they're going to kill you.
They would have done it already. Yeah. Traveling for so long and still traveling, how much longer are you planning to travel?
I don't know. Until I die.
There you have it.
I get bored if I stay here too long. I'm already bored since I came back. For me, London probably is like a place for resting. And I always have a backpack ready.
You always have a backpack ready.
Yeah. And a valid passport.
And a valid passport. To go just about anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Well, actually, my mother taught me that. Well, because they were persecuted before, during the Nazi time, she said you should always have a suitcase ready and a passport valid.
Wow. That's powerful. I mean, this is what she went through, right?
Yeah, after that she never let none of us have an expired passport.
What was your first trip backpacking? By yourself or in general, traveling? What was your first time?
I want to travel, so I had to fake my mother's signature. So I went to New York.
So you faked your mother's signature when you were 15 years old?
Yeah.
And you went to New York?
Yeah.
And what happened at the border?
They couldn't believe I was so young, and my mother gave me permit to go alone like that to New York.
But they still let you go?
Yeah, because it was an official letter.
You finally got to New York after that, or?
Yeah, but 3 days later they were all in New York.
3 days later you were in New York?
No, my family was in New York, looking for me.
You didn't just cross the border, take the bus,
No.
fly. You hitchhiked to New
After
York.
the bridge from Montreal, I started checking. I found a family, they were also going to New York. Yeah, they were shocked. How can your mother let you alone like that to New York?
How do you want to continue to travel if you're already traveling for work?
When it's not work, it's different. You don't have to follow what they tell you, right?
And the freedom makes a huge difference.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people, when they do something at work, they don't want to do it outside of work. You don't even want to talk about work outside of work.
Well, sometimes I go to a country with work, and then I like the place, then I go there by myself.
Beautiful. Someone has already paid for your introductions, which is probably a benefit to having a job like that,
Yes,
right?
that's true.
It's going in, looking at whether you like the country or not, and then deciding if you want to go back for pleasure instead of work.
Yeah.
Every job has their perks and negatives, their positives and negatives, right?
Well, that's true. Well, the negatives, you can get kidnapped. Well, actually in Afghanistan, it was also a kidnapping, but I didn't realize it was kidnapping. I became their guest. They told me after, we were trying to kidnap you, but after you talk with us, sit us, having tea, ate our food, and you became familiar with us, you became our guest. First I didn't know what was happening. Then after they saw how I was and everything, talked to them, eat with them and everything, they say, you're our guest.
After talking to Uzi with such unbelievable history and who has also fed me a variety of delicious cheese, I felt lucky to meet such a person on my trip to London.